What do you think is the biggest problem in the church? You don't need to call out answers, but think about it. Some churches have a problem with gossip. Yes? Other churches maybe have a problem with sin, with a habitual acceptance of immorality in ourselves as individuals and those around us. But these are not, I think, the greatest problem that the church faces. Some might say that the great problem the church faces is that the people give too little to the church. And this may certainly be a practical problem, but it's hardly existential. And it definitely is not the greatest problem that faces the church. We could go on, but you understand the point. We could list many things that are troubling, but the greatest problem that the church faces is that her faithful are not in fact faithful. The greatest problem that we all face is that we like our comfort, we like our safety, we like our security, we like our stability, we like our control of our lives. And therefore, although we call ourselves Christians, although we come into the church and sit through the services, too often, far too often, we are holding something back. We are not actively living the life of Christ. We are not purposely and intentionally following Him. We're hanging back on the outskirts of the crowd, where we can sort of listen, where we can sort of see that marvelous things happen around Christ, but we're not going to be so close as to actually be called upon, actually be challenged, actually be touched. As a small example of this, a small example, I'm told that oftentimes, maybe here, maybe elsewhere, the people don't like it when the priest walks around and gets close. It's uncomfortable. We think, is he going to ask me to say something? Is he looking at me? Does he think I am the problem? Or maybe just, he's in my personal space. I wish he'd move. We like to be comfortable. And when someone breaks the rules, the priest isn't supposed to walk into the pew, right? That's weird. We're uncomfortable. We don't like it. Which I do not for the sake of making any of us uncomfortable, but of highlighting the fact. We come into the church and we expect to be safe. Even the name for the place where we gather to worship in English, the sanctuary, has come to mean a place to be safe, a place of refuge. But that's not what that word means. Sanctuary means the holy place. And since when is holiness safe and comfortable and easy? This is the greatest problem that the church faces, that each of us face. We want to be safe and comfortable, and Christ calls us to be something different entirely. What does he say? If anyone wishes to come after me, let him deny himself and take up what? His backpack, his suitcase, take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it. This is not about feeling safe. This is about truly being safe, which is to recognize that every moment our souls and our very existence stands in peril. We are surrounded by 1,000, 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000, 1,000,000,000,000 influences that seek to draw us away from God. And apart from God, there is no life, there is no love, there is no safety. So when I say we stand in peril, I do in fact mean it literally and immediately. But we don't like to think about that. It causes feelings of anxiety, and rightly so. But our response to that anxiety too often is to cover our ears and shade our eyes and make as much noise as possible to distract ourselves from the reality of existence as it truly is. We stand at the crisis point of decision. Will we follow Christ, or will we follow everything else? And the Lord calls us to choose. And it will be nice, it would be so very nice, if we could just make that decision once and have it settled, but that's not how it works. We are faced with this precise decision every moment of our lives. Every decision is an opportunity to choose either Christ or everything else. This is the crisis that the church faces. Not only now in this parish community, not only now in this country or in the world at large. At every moment of human history, this is the crisis of human life. Will we live or will we die? Will we be saved or will we be lost? At this Sunday, we stand at the midpoint of the fast. We have labored, we have prayed, we have fasted, we have journeyed, we have found ourselves to be weak, we have found sources of strength unlooked for. And we hear this word at this midpoint, that we are called still to take up the cross and follow Christ. To get away from the back of the crowd, the outskirts where we can feel safe and secure, and to press in towards the center, where the source of life stands and preaches and calls and leads us away from everything we have been into everlasting life. Therefore, let us stand